boys and girls, it's Miss Penny Roberts, and I'm here today with you so that we can go over the concepts of Session 4 for Junior Achievement. I'm so thankful that we have the opportunity to be together today, and I hope things are going well for you. So let's start out by thinking about things that we learned during our last session. If you remember, we discussed how interests and hobbies can help guide us to the type of business we might want to run someday. A business that would improve our lives and the lives of others. Another thing we discussed were job clusters. If you remember, we brainstormed for the types of people that it takes to build a house. And we came up with people like carpenters, electricians, plumbers, and landscapers. That's just to name a few. And we determined that these people all work together to create a common product, which is a house, and therefore they work in a job cluster. Next, we talked about people who work in the area of safety, and we named 3 different types of people who work in the area of safety. Ones that we mentioned were policemen, firemen, and paramedics. Plus, there were many more that help keep us safe. All of these people are working for a common goal or a particular type of service to people, which is safety. And because they're all working toward that same goal or that same service, then that is also a job cluster. Today we're going to move into what it takes to get a job. What are the steps we have to go through? What are things we need to do so that we will convince an employer to hire us as their employee? I want you to brainstorm for the next 10 seconds on a job that someone is hiring you for. It can be any job at this point, and why you are perfect for it. And also, how will you prove that you're qualified? Okay, the next 10 seconds, you may begin. Okay, although you had a short time to work on that task, hopefully you were able to come up with a particular job that someone's wanting to hire you for, and you were able to think about why you were perfect for it, and you were going to be able to prove how you were qualified. Now you're going to have more time to think about this later. That was a quick brainstorm. I want you to share this information with your partner. You have 10 seconds approximately, and you may begin now. Coming together in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, I'm sure that you had some great ideas on what you would like to do in the future, what type of job you would like to obtain. And hopefully your teacher will have time to go over this with you more in the future. Now, you brainstormed about that job, but how do you actually go about trying to get that job of your dreams? Well, first of all, you need to know that there are 2 types of people out there. There are employees, that's the people who work for the business. So you're wanting to be an employee. And then there's the employer, businesses that hire the workers. So you hope that the employer will hire you for the job, and you need to know what it's going to take to convince the employer to hire you as their employee. So what do you have to do first? Well, step number 1 is you need to create a resume. A resume is a written summary of a person's education, their work experience, and their skills. So for example, boys and girls, when Miss Penny went to try to get a teaching job and then tried to get the curriculum specialist job, and then moved on to try to get the instructional supervisor job, I had to create a resume. And this is an example of the last resume that I created. Now, I wanted to really try to convince them that I was the one they wanted to hire. So I went a step further. Now, a lot of times people do not take this step, but I wanted them to know just how committed I was, just how much I wanted the job. So I created what was called a professional portfolio. In this professional portfolio, it includes different experiences that I've had, different trainings, different ways I've led. It has all kinds of different information to help give the person who was my potential employer more information about me, and to hopefully convince them that I was the person they needed to hire for the job. I also created an additional professional portfolio, and in this portfolio I had samples of various projects that I had led, and had samples of what type of work that I had done in the past, so they could see my actual work samples. I wanted them to know that I was a really hard worker and I was committed to any project that I was assigned. So I let them see what some of my projects had been. Another part that's very important, or a skill that you need to have, is you need to have soft skills. Now, I know your teachers are teaching you about soft skills now. As a matter of fact, you may not know this, but soft skills are a big focus for the Muhlenberg County school system. Everybody from elementary to middle to high are focusing on soft skills. Soft skills have to do with the way you communicate with people, how you share your thoughts and ideas, the tools that you have that make you best for a particular job. I know that you know that some of them that they've talked about in the classroom are like having good eye contact, having a nice firm handshake when you talk to someone and looking them in the eye as you shake their hand, thanking people for the opportunity to interview for a job at their business. Your teachers will share more about soft skills after this video, and also they will share more about soft skills as the year goes on. Soft skills are of ultimate importance, boys and girls, in order to get a job with an employer. Another skill that is very, very important, and it's part of the soft skills that we've already discussed, is communication. Communication, written and spoken exchanges between people to share information, is one of the most important soft skills that you need to make sure that you get under your belt before you leave your educational background and try to get a job. Good communication is key. The next step for trying to get a job for a particular company or work for a particular business is the job interview. In the job interview, this is a discussion between a potential employee and their employer to help decide if there's a good match between the two. You've given them their resume usually up front. They see that before you ever get to a job interview, and they've looked over that. But the job interview helps them to meet you face to face and see how you communicate, and so that they can determine what your background experiences are. So a job interview is a very important part of the process. Now, here are some job interview tips. Number one, you want to be on time. It never really looks very good, boys and girls, if you go to an interview late. It's always very important to be there early for an interview. You don't want to give the potential employer the idea that you will run late for work all of the time. It just doesn't make a first good impression. So you need to be on time. The second thing, you need to dress appropriately. Dressing appropriately lets them know that you are a professional, and it makes a very good first impression that you are always going to dress appropriately for work. Next, you want to be friendly, polite, and have a positive attitude. It's not the time, boys and girls, to be really negative or tell them all the bad things that have happened or all the things you can't do. This is when you're trying to sell yourself and let them know just how much they need to hire you for that job, just how valuable you would be to their team. So you've got to be very friendly, polite, and positive. Another soft skill we've talked about already is eye contact. While you're talking to the person, you need to make sure you have very good eye contact. That lets them know that you have confidence if you can look them in the eye as you talk to them. And there will be a lot of jobs that you will be interviewing for that you may have to talk to people one-on-one. And if you're doing that, the employer wants to know that you would be willing to make good eye contact when you're communicating with others. Another thing is to thank them for the interview. You want to say, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to interview for your company. And you might can give them another line to let them know just how important the job would be to you and just how much you're willing to dedicate to that job. Often, which it isn't on this list, people will do a follow-up email or letter to thank them again for the interview and let them know how interested they are in the position. So let's review. Remember, for businesses to be profitable and grow, they must hire the best employees. Now, to convince them that you are going to be one of the best employees they can hire, you need to make sure you have your resume ready and give it to them when you apply for the job. A second thing you need to do is make sure you brush up on your soft skills and that you're going to be able to have a great eye contact. You're going to be able to communicate with confidence. Next, the things you are learning now can lead to skills that will be in demand when you're looking for a career. Just remember, sometimes I know it gets a little hard to put your best foot forward with your homework, but boys and girls, I cannot stress enough how important that it is that you always do your best on all of your work in the classroom and out of the classroom. This work is for a purpose, and the purpose is to make you a better person and to prepare you for your future and for your future career. So it's very important that you are trying your absolute best now and getting everything you can from your teacher so that you will be prepared for your future. So I know that all of you are always going to give your best. You want to make sure you start those good habits now so that they'll carry over when you're wanting to find a job. Next, you will complete an activity with your teacher, and it will go along with the lesson that we have just completed together. It has been great to get to spend some time with you today, and I hope you learned some important tips for getting a job in the future. Have a wonderful day. I miss you, and I'll see you the next time for session 5.